Make sure your suit is fully pressurized and bolted in, because you're probably about to discover there's so much more to this legendary Dark Lord of the Sith than a few force chokes and a game-changing one-liner. I'm Gareth from What Culture Star Wars, and here are 10 things you didn't know about Darth Vader, probably. Number 10, that helmet nearly never was. While the ensemble as a whole makes for one of the most formidable suits of armor ever to be committed to the big screen, it's the indomitable Sith's helmet in particular that struck fear into the hearts of all those who witnessed him quite literally choke the life out of some rebel scum. However, having Vader sport this protective face mask at all times wasn't actually the original plan at all. George Lucas initially conceived that Vader's face would be entirely covered by a less intimidating scarf instead, opting to only don the now much adored helmet when stepping into his spacesuit to move between shuttles. Or, he might die. Yet as Vader's reliance on the suit and helmet likely grew in the writing stage, and the team behind the flicks realized how much stronger his overall look would be if permanently encased in the eye-catching black headpiece, the scarf concept was understandably dropped by the time the 1977 Star Wars blasted onto our screens. Number 9, the ins and outs of that suit. Far from simply being a cool way to present the galaxy's most feared presence, Darth Vader's stylish suit came with it some rather interesting details. Despite the suit producing a neurotoxin that helped slightly ease the everlasting pain that comes from being very much wired into a machine for the remainder of his days, Darth Sidious actually designed the outfit with the idea of keeping the fallen Jedi as uncomfortable as possible. He's a bit of a dick. But it also meant that he would constantly be in a state of anger and frustration, and therefore closer to the dark side as a result. That still doesn't make him any less of a dick. Another handy element Sidious had installed into his apprentice's life support system was the suit's vulnerability to Force lightning, an ability the Emperor was particularly fond of naturally. On top of Vader largely steering clear of using this Sith ability himself, due to it once short-circuiting his armor and very nearly killing him in the process, during the Darth Vader comic series, Sidious had been known to threaten his impulsive associate with electrocution with the all-important knowledge of his little-known weakness. And this very literal chink in his armor would inevitably lead to his eventual demise in Return of the Jedi, of course. Number 8, David Prowse and George Lucas did not see eye to eye. While Hayden Christensen is set to step back into the iconic suit for the upcoming Disney Plus return of the burned-up badass, it was the late David Prowse who first set foot onto a Star Wars set as the now immortalized Force of Darkness. However, upon hearing the British bodybuilder deliver some of Vader's eventually hugely quotable lines, Lucas soon decided that he needed to swap out Prowse's voice for the deep tones of James Earl Jones. With Prowse not being aware of this call until way too late in the day, the Brit was said to have been rather pissed at Lucas from there on out, refusing to learn his lines for the subsequent sequels, and even uttering gibberish to his scene partners at times in an act of sheer defiance. Prowse and Lucas's feud would continue in the wake of the original trilogy too, as the former was eventually banned from all Lucasfilm events on the back of claiming he wasn't paid residuals for his work on Return of the Jedi, and Lucas claiming his physical Vader had burnt too many bridges. Number 7, Orson Welles nearly voiced him. Regardless of David Prowse's understandable frustrations at being vocally passed up on in favor of the distinct sound of the legendary James Earl Jones, it's hard to imagine a world where the rumbling thespian didn't provide the audible foundations for one of the most recognizable figures in cinema history. However, that unthinkable alternate reality wasn't actually as far away as you'd imagine as it goes. Upon deciding that he needed to swap out Prowse's less than intimidating Bristol accent for his incoming series, Lucas originally felt that movie titan Orson Welles' voice would be the perfect fit for the fearsome focal point of the series. Yet it would soon become apparent to the mind behind the galaxy far, far away that the War of the Worlds and Citizen Kane star was a little too well known for his liking. Earl Jones' consistently mesmerizing voice work as the embodiment of darkness in the Skywalker saga and other spin-offs more than justified Lucas's choice to not commit to an Orson Sith Lord in the end, mind. Number 6, he wasn't always Luke's father. While it still ranks as undoubtedly one of the biggest and most effectively executed twists the movie industry has ever seen, the revelation of Darth Vader being Luke Skywalker's daddy wasn't actually set in stone from the off. Despite Lucas's claims that he had the entire Skywalker saga planned out from the minute he began crafting the first of his galaxy-shifting flicks, Lee Brackett's early draft of the script for The Empire Strikes Back showed no signs of this jaw-dropping reveal at all. How suspicious. In fact, along with Vader not being revealed to be Luke's father, the next generation of Skywalker lad did not lose a hand. Luke is revealed to have a twin who may not have actually been Leia, and actually meets his father Anakin in Force Ghost form whilst training on Dagobah, and Han Solo doesn't actually get captured. It's also worth noting that the all-important reveal itself was kept under lock and key whilst filming the fateful sequence too. with the cast and crew on set actually hearing "You don't know the truth, Obi-Wan killed your father" on the day, and only Irving Kershner, Mark Hamill, and Lucas knowing ahead of time what would eventually be dubbed in for the finished film. Number 5, Boba Fett revealed that Vader had a son. He may not have ultimately been unveiled as the unexpected sibling of the menacing masked icon with a penchant for force choking, despite rumors of George Lucas at one point mulling over making that reality canon. But recent Disney Plus TV sensation Boba Fett did still have a significant role to play in that previously noted jaw-dropping Episode 5 reveal. Despite it initially seeming as though Emperor Palpatine himself was the first to note to Lord Vader that Luke was the son of Anakin Skywalker in The Empire Strikes Back, the 2015 comic book Star Wars 6 Skywalker Strikes Part 6 would shed further light on the actual moment the mighty Sith learned of his son's existence. On the back of Fett trying and failing to claim a bounty on Luke on the back of the rebel pilot successfully destroying the Death Star in A New Hope, the Beskar sporting bounty hunter is only able to deliver a family name to the Emperor's right-hand man, Skywalker. In this moment, Vader is transported back to the memory of Padme confessing her pregnancy to an unturned Anakin Skywalker, soon realizing that his beloved must have given birth moments before she eventually perished in Revenge of the Sith. Oh, how tragic. Number 4, Hayden Christensen had to bulk up for his Vader return. You can bet Hayden Christensen fully assumed his time in the Vader saddle had well and truly passed. Yet almost 20 years on from his fateful no! The underappreciated prequel Vader is set to be reintroduced on the Disney Plus stage, opposite old friend Ewan McGregor. But this wasn't simply a case of taking the unanticipated call and waltzing onto set the next day ready to throw down with Obi-Wan Kenobi. In order to prepare for his highly anticipated Skywalker Vader comeback, Christensen recently told Total Film that he had to undergo some intense physical preparation and put on a decent amount of weight and size to fill up the suit. And for those wondering whether the incoming lightsaber showdowns will match Christensen and McGregor's exhilarating exploits of the prequels, the Anakin actor spotted practicing behind the scenes in a recent Vanity Fair article would also note, "We're more in line with the prequels than we are with how the fights are in the original trilogy. These characters have aged, but not that much yet." This is where the fun begins indeed, eh? Number 3, his minimal A New Hope screen time. From his most recent incoming appearance on our small screens, to his first ever steps into this galaxy far, far away now, and to a detail that often goes overlooked when revisiting the original trilogy that made fans the world over fall in love with George Lucas's baby in the first place. Despite being one of, if not the most memorable part of Lucas's first leap into hyperspace, that was A New Hope in 1977, the Force-sensitive cyborg is only actually present in the feature for a grand total of 12 measly minutes of the eventual 121-minute runtime. In fact, there's a strong argument to be made that Vader isn't even the central antagonist of his debut flick at all, with Grand Moff Tarkin taking control of the Death Star throughout, ultimately blasting Alderaan to smithereens, and even barking orders at the unsettling Sith Lord that are promptly obeyed before our very eyes. Tarkin says jump, Vader says how high. But in one of the finest examples of maximizing your minutes in a movie you'll likely ever witness, Vader more than made his mark, eh? Number 2, his Ahsoka story didn't end in the Clone Wars. While largely ignored in the live-action sphere until the most recent Disney Plus adventures, the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels animated TV shows in particular delved into perhaps one of the most compelling and complex Padawan-master relationships this galaxy has ever known. With Jedi in training Ahsoka Tano largely taking residence under Anakin Skywalker's learning tree over the course of said Clone Wars show, her eventual loss of faith in the Jedi would also act as a not-so-subtle dose of foreshadowing for her master's eventual decision to turn his back on the Order too. But far from simply never coming into contact again in the days following on from Skywalker's descent into the dark side, the aforementioned Rebels series would depict yet another exchange between the two, and a more violent one at that. Leaving Vader with a battered mask before their battlefield disintegrated around them, it remains to be seen whether this highly emotional animated history will be revisited or alluded to further in the coming Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka series. Number 1, he's a monumental merchandise mover, baby. If it hadn't already been made painfully obvious over the course of the prior 9 entries, Darth Vader sits head and shoulders above the rest of a seriously stacked roster of notable names as Star Wars' most popular entity ever. And that's not simply one dude's opinion either. The proof is undoubtedly found in the sheer amount of dollar that has most definitely been dragged in by the legendary villain. With Vader's visage being slapped on just about everything Star Wars associated that can be purchased by a galaxy far, far away obsessed consumer, It's safe to assume that a decent chunk of the $27 billion of profit Lucasfilm had made on merch as of 2015 was largely down to his eye-catching mask being front and center. If you needed any more proof of just how popular the red-bladed baddie still unquestionably is though, the Dark Lord of the Sith's iconic helmet used on the set of the original trilogy was sold for a whopping $1 million a few years back. And he once again found himself casting a sizable shadow over the rest of the field on the cover of the most recent LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga video game too. The dollar is still strong with this one. And that's our list of any other things folks did not know about Darth Vader. Let us know all about them in the comment section right down below, and do not forget to like, share and click on that subscribe button while you're at it. Also, if you like this kind of thing, then head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video you're watching right now is based on. I have been Gareth from What Culture Star Wars. Thank you as always for clicking on this video today. May the Force be with you, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon. Or not. Either way, bye bye.